Welcome to the PR Maven podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. Hello, PR Maven Nation. I'm very happy today for episode number 144, presented by Marshall Communications, with our guest, who is Colleen Craig, who is brand manager at Wyman's. Colleen, welcome to the PR Maven podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And it's kind of funny. I'm just going to reveal this right now.
Do it. It's going to come out. Yeah.
We're neighbors and we are both like in our respective homes, but we're like a stone's throw apart.
You can look out your window and probably see my dog on the balcony. Yeah, now. We're that close.
Yeah. Is the dog okay out there for a little while?
Good. Yeah, she's good.
Good.
The door's open, so she can come in and out.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So Colleen Craig is a native New Englander who studied communication at DePaul University in Chicago. And she took her degree on the road as a goodwill ambassador for the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile, spreading miles of smiles on the hot dog highways of America, which I think is just awesome. The hot dog highways. She has held various roles in marketing communications for 15 years, from big corporations to family-owned healthcare to consumer products, and is most proud of holding 3 postgraduate degrees: Hot Dog High, Hamburger U, and the Lobster and Salmon Academy. So she goes across a lot of food groups.
Yeah, those were easier graduate degrees to get, I will say.
As the brand manager at Wyman's, she is passionate about fruit in all forms, from frozen to wine, which we have shared a bit together. And she's firmly planted in Maine, between the mountains and the ocean. So, Colleen, you have had an extremely interesting career. Tell us how you got started and all the different degrees that you've earned along the way.
Absolutely. So right out of college, my first job was piloting a 27-foot-long hot dog on wheels. So that is the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. They hire 12 college graduates to drive 6 mobiles around the country. So I was a communications major, and it was just the most coveted job of a communications major. It was a really intense interview process. And then they hand you the keys to the most expensive company car in America, and you're on your way. So I really started in what I would consider grassroots, experiential marketing, just spreading the love of Oscar Mayer and hot dogs, and just sort of the generational experience of this piece of Americana, which is the Wienermobile.
Yeah, so Oscar Mayer really was at the forefront of experiential marketing.
Oh, yeah. Carl Mayer, who is Oscar's nephew, came up with the idea in 1936. And it was, obviously has continued to evolve since then. But it is the program really started in the 80s, where they hired college graduates to drive nationwide in the current fleet. And it's quite a community. I mean, it's a fraternity of, a couple hundred of us who've had the experience. And we're also very closely connected, which is great.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, I can see how you'd be closely connected because you've all had this shared experience. That's so unique.
It's really true. Yeah, it was hard on the road, even talking to friends back home, about having a bad day. It's like, how can you have a bad day? You're driving around in a 27-foot-long fiberglass hot dog. So it forces you to have these close bonds with your fellow Hotdoggers and classes before and after. And, every year that they pass through Portland, I'll get together with the Hotdoggers and take them to dinner and check in on things. And it's amazing after 20 something years, how little has changed, like the cost of per diem for a hotel room and, things like that. But
weren't they really, or just recently in Portland? Like you had dinner with some of them recently.
They were, yeah, a couple weeks ago. It was the end of their tour. So it's the program is June to June. So they're finishing up actually on Monday. So this is one of their last stops. I was able to meet up with them and take them to dinner. So yeah.
So tell us about your position at Wyman's and what you had to do in the interview process.
Yeah, looking back, I gave them such a tough time. I kept refusing to send a resume. So this goes back to your point about building a strong network in Maine and Portland. It's in particular, it is such a small community of people. It really sort of warrants kind of maintaining good relationships. So I was meeting with a professional colleague, friend of mine, who happened to know Tony, who's our current CEO, and Pat, who's our VP of marketing, and it said you should really talk to these guys at Wyman's. They're new, they've got all this energy, they're doing all these new product innovations, and I was like, yeah, okay, maybe. And they asked for a resume, and instead of sending my resume, I actually sent my results from the Gallup Strength Finders test. I was like, if you want to know what it's like to work with me, here's the. So they were very patient with me through the interview process. But yeah, once I had a chance to meet with them, it was just I was hooked. Wyman's we're nearly 150 years old. People still don't really know our story. And there's such a great story to tell, just from family owned to the generations, to the actual wild blueberry itself, to our position in the frozen food world. And so it's really just such a great opportunity. I'm very thankful to have landed it. There is that pause, when I first told people that I was working for Wyman's, it's like oh, right, I have them in my freezer, but to me, that pause was such the opportunity of, we need to fill that pause with so many things about our story and our lands. And so, yeah, I'm hooked on frozen fruit and excited to spread the love of wild blueberries, in Maine and well beyond.
Well, I'm excited that we're working together now, and we're
likewise.
I've learned so much. I mean, you didn't mention the pollinators. I mean, they're one of the most important pieces of the story.
That's really true. Yeah, right. In both the literal native pollinators who help us grow and harvest the wild blueberries, but also in how we are positioning ourselves with the tourists and all the visitors that come to Maine. Over a 90-day period, we get 40 million people or something who visit the state, and we're looking at them as pollinators. So tourists as pollinators. How do we provide this really memorable and delicious, tasty wild blueberry experience while they're here, connected to Maine and then connected to Wyman's? They go home, they share the story with their friends and family, and they can buy our wild blueberries. Our wild blueberries are distributed in all 50 states across the U.S. So tourists, pollinators.
So we're taking the term pollinator and brand ambassador and kind of making them interchangeable.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, every brand is how do we build advocates or loyalists or ambassadors? And we're choosing pollinators because it's more relevant to our business.
So tell us about Wyman's and what is the difference between cultivated and wild blueberries?
Yeah, I still remember when I first learned about wild blueberries, but so many things. It's starting with their growing story. So wild blueberries have grown naturally in a really small corner of the world. So it's down East Maine and in Eastern Canada, Canadian Maritimes. And they've been growing since the glaciers receded thousands of years ago. You can't plant a wild blueberry bush to grow commercially. You have to just tend to it, care to it, and sort of take care of the land to encourage it to the growth. It's called a rhizome system. So it's basically like a carpet of blue. It takes 2 years to grow one wild blueberry. So and a lot of people will say, there's such a health and nutrition benefit to all berries, but the wild blueberry in particular. And it's that fight for survival during, rough Maine winters that really gives it all of that nutritional benefit. So the growing story. And then for cultivated or ordinary blueberries, they're more of a monoculture. They're basically planted and bred to withstand shipments. You most of the time will see cultivated blueberries in the grocery store as fresh produce, whereas wild blueberries, majority of them, not all, but majority are sold frozen because they're so delicate. The taste is a huge thing. Like if you ever tasted a wild blueberry and an ordinary blueberry side by side, the wild blueberry, we get the benefit of just the diversity of plants, from our lands, the different bushes that grow in different areas, and they all kind of end up in one bag. So it's a lot of people find the flavor more intense, it's tangy, it's sweet. If you haven't tried them side by side and you still don't know the difference, I would highly encourage you to do so.
Well, you talked about the blanket of blue, and my son Jamie is a pilot, and we flew over the blueberry fields not too long ago. And
I feel like I need to get you right here on this podcast to commit to Jamie taking me up there because I want to see them from the sky. It was so cool.
Yeah, it was totally cool. And I'm sure he would be happy to take you for a ride.
All right, Jamie, you're on.
Yeah, Jamie, if you're listening, although I don't think he listens to my podcast.
What? He really
Or
should.
if he does, he wouldn't tell me that he did. So Wyman's has something new and exciting that will appear on the roads of Maine this summer. Tell us about it.
Yes. Tony and Pat joke that this is like day one at Wyman's. I started talking about wanting to build an experiential program, just from my roots in Oscar Mayer and the Wienermobile, and just that understanding of how to connect with consumers in a really kind of that has staying power. So we are piloting this summer in Maine the Bee Wienermobile. So it is essentially like a crate of wild blueberries on wheels, and we're traveling around Maine. We're going to do approximately 100 events in 100 days, spreading just information and knowledge about wild blueberries and their connection to the state of Maine, and then telling a little bit about Wyman's story. It's outfitted with different pollinators and wildlife that are really important to our habitat in Down East Maine. We have tons of giveaways. It's incredible. We have stickers and we have hats and shirts and these adorable little enamel pins, which I wish I had right here. We have a custom playing cards that a local Maine illustrator designed for. There's just a ton of really fun stuff that is meant to just provide a reminder of a visit to Maine, an experience in Maine, the remembrance of wild blueberries and Wyman's. And then, of course, we'll be handing out free samples of our newest product, the Just Fruit Cups, featuring Maine wild blueberries.
Yeah. Tell us more about the Just Fruit Cups.
Yeah. So this is our, we're very committed to continuing to grow the business through innovation in frozen fruit. And I should say, a lot of people that are familiar with Wyman's know us as a wild blueberry company. And not many people know that we actually are the #1 brand of frozen fruit in the country. We have 20 SKUs that are out in the marketplace. So Just Fruit is our newest product and our first in kind of a long line of innovation to come. We have 4 flavors. 3 of them are with these Greek yogurt pellets. It actually uses the same technology as Dippin' Dots. So there's little kind of frozen balls of Greek yogurt. And then we have 1 flavor that is dairy-free that's made with banana puree. So it's a little cup of it. A lot of people, we can't officially say this. A lot of people compare it to Dippin' Dots, like a healthier ice cream. It's a sweet treat, healthier snack. It's 40 calories per cup, and they're delicious. So if you see the Bee Wienermobile around Maine this summer, hopefully you'll get a chance to try the Just Fruit Cups if you haven't yet. I should say they've been in at least our local New England markets since the end of 2019. This past year, we were fortunate enough to launch them and go national in Targets and Walmarts across the country. So.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they are delicious. I've had them, and I can totally agree. They're a healthy and delicious treat.
Oh yeah, every friend's freezer that I go into, I'm checking for both Just Fruit and our bag products. And but yes, no, people that try them. The word that we hear most often is obsessed. I'm obsessed with these, and I am not on TikTok. I'm learning about TikTok, but Just Fruit got picked up. It's been like a craze on TikTok recently, and it's all this like, the hype of the Wyman's Just Fruit Cup. It's really funny to see. But yes, they are we're proud of the product, and it's part of our mission of bringing, getting people to eat more fruit. And a way to do that is to provide accessibility and a snack that is first and foremost tasty, but also healthy and, a low caloric count. So.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back with more from Colleen. But I wanted to first remind you about my book, which I published actually at the outset of the pandemic, called Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand. And if you go to prmaven.com/giveaway, you can download a free copy today. And Colleen, you might just get one in the mail. Or maybe we'll meet across the street.
And meet you in the middle.
Yeah. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Do you want to grow your client or customer base? Perhaps increase brand awareness? Maybe tell your unique story more effectively? Of course you do. But you may be worried that you don't have enough expertise to make that happen. Well, no worries, PR Maven Nation. Let the PR Maven herself, Nancy Marshall, show you how easy it is to get your message across effectively using a powerful yet simple tool, a message map. Nancy's training is often called informative and constructive, well-designed and impactful, with a perfect blend of theory and real-life experience. You will leverage Nancy's expertise to create your own message map when you register for this comprehensive online video training course, which is broken down into 4 easy-to-understand modules. Normally, this course is priced at $147, but for listeners of the PR Maven podcast, that's you, PR Maven Nation, it's only $29 when you enter the code word podcast during enrollment. It even includes a workbook and bonus content to guide you through the process. So go to prmaven.com and click on the Message Map Mastery course to enroll today. Remember, enter the word podcast during enrollment for a special discounted price of $29.
Welcome back, and we're happy to have Colleen Craig with us on the PR Maven podcast, which is also available now on Facebook and YouTube. So we're really getting out there on social media. So, Colleen, how do you feel that PR fits into Wyman's overall integrated marketing strategy?
Yeah. First of all, we're very excited to be working with you in Marshall Communications. So it's been such a positive experience so far. So, and for me personally, and this plays into sort of what we're doing at Wyman's, but I'll say just from, I'm sort of biased towards different channels that are provide better opportunity for the consumers to engage or people to engage. So experiential marketing is one of them. PR, I think, is another one. You're asking, you're getting earned media, you're asking people to engage and read something, a story versus just maybe seeing an ad. We did an ad last year in Portland Monthly that was a scratch and sniff ad. And it was sort of the similar concept of like, rather than having just a static ad, which can be beautiful and really impactful as is, how do we get people to engage in more of the senses and really be a part of it? So for me personally, that's where I see earned media. It's just, you are providing people a more in-depth way to maybe learn about your brand. And this summer, with you guys, it's about how do we scale our message and really get it out there to not only just the pollinators who are visiting, but also Maine residents who I think we have some opportunity to give them a deeper and richer story around what Wyman's is doing.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you got some very good earned media yourself in Maine Women magazine.
Right. Yes.
June issue. So if people want to see that, if you Google search Colleen Craig on Maine Women magazine's site, it was a really nice article about about your career.
The funny thing about that is I didn't have a headshot or any pictures of myself in Wyman's gear. So I had to have a friend come over and grab a photo like last minute. It was just so funny. It's a good learning for me, even as a brand manager. It's like for our personal brand, we need to have that locked up. Like you need updated headshots. Yeah. You need to be ready to go.
I think I've got a blog post out there that is very popular. I think a lot of photographers have shared it because it's about, that is kind of one of the building blocks in your career.
Yeah. Mine is so outdated. They were like, don't you have anything more recent in Wyman's clothing? And I'm like, I don't. I will.
Yeah.
We're working on that.
Yeah, we'll have to get that. So I'm so thrilled that we are working together. And one of the things we're going to be trying to do is get hyper local coverage from the media around the state. And how do you envision that that's going to help spread the word about Wyman's and wild blueberries?
Yeah, I think so. Our goal in having this experiential program is ultimately to take it national. So we know there are certain pockets of the country where purchasing frozen fruit and specifically blueberries is really high. And their awareness of the fact that there's two different kinds of blueberries, wild and ordinary, is really low. So the ultimate goal is to take the message nationwide. We intentionally wanted to start in our home state of Maine because we see our employees as our best ambassadors, and the state of Maine is our next best ambassadors. You know, the wild blueberry is the official fruit of the state of Maine. I think there's a sense of pride in the industry here. As I mentioned, you know, the wild blueberries grow in down East Maine and the Canadian Maritime. So it's really is such a small little special part of being in Maine. So we're bringing it just to Maine. We're hoping to gain a lot of traction here locally for what we're doing with the Be Wienermobile and also just some of the efforts that Wyman's is taking even broader in terms of just frozen fruit and our working lands.
And you brought in a couple of alums of the Wienermobile.
Yes. Yeah. So, there will be two women who are driving the mobile around the state this summer. One is a former Hotdogger, and one actually just got off the road. She's a peanutter. She was driving the Nutmobile. So Hormel actually just acquired planters from the Kraft Heinz portfolio. But prior to that, the Planters Mobile, Peanut Mobile, and the Peanuters went through the same training program as Hotdoggers. And having been through it, I just had a level of confidence that they would be sort of market ready, media trained, and just experts at putting on live events. And they've been fantastic. So you will meet. They will be touring. You know, they will be the main tour guides in essence. And we have quite a packed schedule that we're really excited about. So if you see them out there,
I can attest to their professionalism so far. I've been very impressed.
Yeah, they've been great. Yep.
Yeah. And you've worked a little bit with the LL Bean Bootmobile people already.
Yeah, we are. Yes, we have been talking with their experience team. We will have some exciting stuff coming up early July with them. I can't wait to get the visual of the Bootmobile and the Be Wienermobile traveling together in caravan, which will happen. We're really excited about that. And, you know, they do so many different events with their outdoor discovery program and their movie nights and stuff on campus that is really exactly the type of audience and setting that we want to be in with the Be Wienermobile, just based on, you know, the activities that we have with our beanbag toss and the spin and win and the giveaways and the Just Fruit Cups. And so they've been one of the first partners that we reached out to, and which we continue to be really excited about. More to come, I should say, soon. In the next couple of days, on our homepage, you will be able to see our full event calendar. And so any events that are confirmed from June 8th through September 30th, we'll have up on our website, so you can find out exactly where we'll be and when.
That's great. And that's at wymans.com.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. Wymans.com.
Okay. And you've talked about growing your community of pollinators, which are brand ambassadors. We touched on that, but why is that important to have them out there?
Yeah, so Wyman's, I mean, for being nearly 150 years old, our brand awareness as you kind of travel outside the state and go west is still relatively low. So even as the number one brand of frozen fruit, even as, you know, our wild blueberry bag is the fastest turning product in the frozen fruit case. So I mean, there's, you know, the product itself has really strong brand affinity, but the Wyman's brand itself, I think, has some opportunity to continue to grow. So the pollinator aspect is just people come to Maine and they have this association with wild blueberries and Wyman's, and they can sort of relive that experience when they're at home. So we're working with customers up and down the state to have wild blueberry specials on the menu this summer. And so the hope is that people can experience it in breakfast foods and entrees and desserts and cocktails, and they'll have many different ways to taste the versatility of wild blueberries.
And of course, they'll be sharing it on their social media feeds, and they'll be talking it up. And that's the thing. Yeah, people amplify it on their own, but we want to give them the backdrop
to do that. So we not only have all these giveaways at the vehicle, but we also are working with our customer partners to have giveaway items on premise. So if you order a wild blueberry cocktail, let's say, you'll get a coaster that has wildflower seeds in it. So there's a message from Wyman's, you can bring it home, you can plant it in your backyard, and you can grow wildflower seeds. So we're trying to complete the circle for everyone, wherever they are, to continue to reinforce kind of how special and unique the wild blueberry is and its connection to Maine.
Yeah, I think those coasters with the seeds embedded is really a cool idea.
Yeah, we agree.
And of course, word of mouth marketing is still and forever the most powerful form of marketing. So having these people who have had this brand experience and then have them tell people who are like them, their friends and family, that's just really powerful.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I totally agree. That's the goal.
So, Colleen, you're a big reader. I know this firsthand because we've done some book trades. What is a book, a website, or an app that has impacted your career or your life, and how?
Yeah, Nancy has been my own personal little library in the courtyard. She got me hooked on the Paul Dwarin, Mike Bowditch series all throughout the past, the COVID period. And I've read all of them, and that was super helpful. Yeah. So and interestingly, me as an avid reader, but growing up, my parents always tried to get me to read. I was not interested in reading. I was much more interested in running around. And I really, when I moved to Chicago for school and was sort of building my community there, I was spending a lot of time at the bookstore, and I started reading Harry Potter. That's what hooked me on reading, believe it or not, in my kind of late tea, I think I was 19, 20. And I just haven't stopped since. But the book that is probably most special that's on my bookcase, it was with the Wienermobile. We were in a small town in Tennessee. We had an off day. And when you're in a small town and you don't have access to public transportation, your way to get around is obviously the Wienermobile. We had to do laundry because a lot of the hotels that we were staying in didn't have laundry. So we were at this little local laundromat. And of course, the news showed up because we're in a small town and it was, generating some attention. And so we did a little media interview, and the mayor of this town, I can't remember the name of the town. I wish I could, but he came to the laundromat. He found my co-pilot, Zach, and I, and he invited us to dinner at his house. And so over dinner, he was talking about our career aspirations and, where we hoped to go next. And I woke up the next morning and he had brought to the lobby of our hotel the biography, Pour Your Heart Into It by Howard Schultz. I must have talked about Starbucks or sort of wanting to work in that type of world. So it was such an impactful book at the time too, because Howard Schultz is such a passionate guy, and what he was doing, I think, was so unique at the time. And so that book in itself was a great one for me to read at that moment in time, so early in my career, and really kind of forced me down this path of, it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's the product or it's the brand or it's the whatever it is, if you can find something that you're just innately passionate about, you will enjoy it so much more.
Well, I haven't read that book, but I'd like to. And
yeah.
I absolutely agree, because I believe that enthusiasm trumps intelligence every time. I mean, it helps to be intelligent, but if you're enthusiastic about what you're doing, it's infectious. People will know.
You can train very many skills, but you can't train somebody how to be, truly passionate about your work or the product. And so, yeah, that's a big one that stands out to me. But I've read a lot of great books over the course of the last 20 years, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I admire you for being such an avid reader. I admire people who are readers and writers.
Yeah. There's a new book out. I haven't read it yet, but it's called Down East by Gigi Georges and George, maybe. And I just got it from Print Bookstore, which is right up the street. And it covers 5 girls, now women, I think, from Down East Maine, and kind of their story and what they, coming from rural Washington County, what their path forward. So I'm excited to read that. That's what's next on my bookshelf.
Yeah, actually, I'm on the board of the Maine Seacoast Mission, and I think we are going to have a chance to meet her after our next board meeting. We talked about that book, and some of the girls that were profiled in the book have been involved with the EDGE program, which is the after school program. And that ties back in with the Be Wildmobile because the Be Wildmobile will be going to visit the kids that are involved with EDGE. So it just brings it all together in a nice way. It was
ironically, so when I first moved to Maine, I was working for an agency, and within the first 3 weeks of my starting, we actually filmed a video for the EDGE program. It was for fundraising, and so we were up there for three days. And it's ironic just that I'm now working in the wild blueberry industry, but it was all about the EDGE program in Washington County and the blueberry barons, and so it really comes full circle. But yeah, the EDGE program is fantastic, and we're happy that we get to be working with them this summer.
Yeah. So just as a little promotional bit, the EDGE program is part of the Maine Seacoast Mission, and it's an after-school program that has really helped raise the aspirations of a lot of kids from down East Maine. And I'm just so impressed. They have a scholarship program, and kids go on to secondary and postgraduate education and great careers after being part of that program. So,
yeah, it's great. Wonderful.
So, Colleen, how can people get in touch with you if they want to follow up?
Yeah, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn or just through my email address, which is ccraig@wymans.com. Or you can go to the Grippy Tannins Wine Bar, which I'm usually there a couple days a week. So if you pop in there, I'll probably be there, and I may even be with Nancy. So just you get a bonus there.
You'll hear me laughing when you're approaching
all
on
the way
Middle
down
Street.
the street. Yeah, exactly.
It's a problem, but you can't deny your karma. So.
Yeah.
Well, Colleen, this has been really fun. Thank you. And I look forward to continuing the conversation and continuing to spread the word about Wyman's wild blueberries.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Well, have a great day, PR Maven Nation. Thanks for listening to this episode of the PR Maven podcast. I invite you to share a review of the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation on Facebook. It's free to join, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you use an Alexa device, use your Alexa app to search the skills and games section to find and enable the PR Maven podcast flash briefing. This will give you access to exclusive content and more PR and marketing advice. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.